Over the past few weeks, Massive has been releasing more and more information about patch 1.8. You know, we had a trailer, we had a couple of state of the game shows with gameplay, and we had a few articles, and it seems that patch 1.8 is going to be pretty big, with a map expansion, 2 new game modes, one for PvE, one for PvP. We're getting new gear, new weapons, we're getting a rework of the rogue system, and a whole bunch of overall balance changes. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. You already know what this video is because you read the title, so let's jump right in. First, I want to take a look at the big thing for many of the players watching, the new part of the map. It is called Westside Pier, and this new area has been shown off a bit in one of the State of the Game live streams. And although it's not finished yet, just looking at the footage, we're getting a good idea of what this area is supposed to be. It seems that there will be no traditional missions, such as with the rest of the map. Instead, this area will mostly be filled with some daily activities and some random encounters. On the stream, the developers started out at Camp Clinton, which is the new safe house. That has, well, it has everything that you can expect a safe house to have, and after going outside they're visiting a few areas, such as this nightclub and the DeWitt Park, which has been turned into a mass grave. In these areas they fought a lot of NPCs, they did some of those side missions, such as this one where they have to prevent the hostiles from getting access to something. And rewards for doing these activities comes in the form of Westside Pier caches, which will have loot. But you will also get some target intel for those HVTs and some division tech. Now, division tech is going to be pretty important, but we'll get back to that later into the video. The map area itself is actually split up in 2 different districts, and although we can see a couple of mission markers on the map, the developers did say while playing that some of these markers are not accurate. It's just part of the whole thing not being finished yet. The update is not coming with a new incursion, for those wondering. The only thing that they mentioned there to be when it comes down to new story content is collectibles in the form of audio files that you can collect across this new area. One question that obviously came up is that if we will be able to enter the big battleship, the Interpret, I think it's what it's called. And the answer to that was yes and no. Yes, you can enter the ship, however, you cannot do it in the free roaming mode. The only way you can get in there is through the new game mode called Resistance. Now, Resistance is basically an endless horde mode where a player, or a team of 4 players, will be fighting against combinations of different enemy factions. What's different about this horde mode though is that you'll have to go through different areas of the map as well. And one of those areas is, as you probably guessed it, inside of this big battleship. I think players always start off outside of the battleship area, they always start off in this zone. But if you've ever played something like Call of Duty Zombies modes, it will be very similar to that, to where you have to kill the enemies and then you get points for killing enemies and you can use those points to unlock more parts of the map, so you have to buy your way into the battleship, so to speak. You will of course also be able to spend this money on other things, like fortifications, such in Last Stand with the turrets and the poles. And also some new mechanics that the developers did not want to reveal yet. Again, you could compare it to something like Call of Duty Zombies, but then without zombies. The developers also mentioned that this mode is truly infinite. There will be an infinite amount of rounds. The NPCs will go from purples to elites, to then named enemies, and then to legendary enemies. And the further you get, the harder it will become. The enemies will start to have more health, will start to deal more damage, and will start to act smarter. Of course, the further you get, the better the rewards will be as well, with the top rewards being the classified gear set and some new exotic weapons that you can get. They haven't shown any footage of this yet, but they've confirmed 2 new exotic snipers, a new exotic LMG, and a new exotic SMG. Some of the resistance rounds will also come with an extra challenge, like a time limit where you have to kill all the NPCs within a given time. And there will also be special NPCs with special bosses that we've never seen before. Think about NPCs with shock turrets and that kind of stuff. Again, no footage yet, the developers did not want to give away too much, so this is all we know. Matchmaking will be available for this game mode, but as I said, you can also play it by yourself. The content scales towards how many players you're playing with. So yeah, if you're a solo player and you still want to see how far you can push this, well, you're free to do so. The other game mode that's being introduced is called Skirmish, and this is a PvP game mode where you will basically be put in a team of 4 players versus another team of 4 players without any NPCs in the mix, unlike Last Stand. There seems to be a time limit of 10 minutes and a kill limit of 20 kills, which both can be seen on the top of the screen. However, depending on how things work out on the PTS, these things might still be changed. At the start of every match, you also get to see this stat screen where you'll see the high score, the win-loss ratio, and the overall kill-death ratio of the highest performing players in your team. In addition to that, you also get to take a look at his loadout to kind of see what he's running, and if possible, I would really like this feature to be extended to the rest of the game, where, for example, players within the same group could look at each other and then inspect each other's loadouts, so we can quickly see what the other guys are running. I think this would be a very useful feature for matchmaking, but hey, it's just a suggestion. It's been confirmed that players will also be able to get classified gear through playing this new game mode. Obviously, not as much as during the global event itself, but the developers have said that there will be 99 levels that players can level through playing this game mode. And each time that you level up, you'll get some sort of cash, and that cash has a chance of giving you a classified gear piece. This rank is going to be shared with your last stand rank though, so if you already have last stand and you're rank 40 right now, there's a chance that you will also start off with rank 40 in this new skirmish mode, but how it exactly works, I don't really know yet, so we'll have to wait for that. The rogue system, the other PvP thing in the division, is also getting changed, and this has been quite a conversation lately, as one part of the player base really likes the changes, and then there's also a part of the player base that doesn't really like the changes. The first change that the developers are making is that there will now be friendly fire between non-rogue players in the dark zone, so if you do not want to go rogue, and if you're trying to kill those rogue players in the DZ, there will not be anything like accidental rogue anymore, where you get tagged with that 20-second timer. Right now, if you shoot at someone else that's not rogue and you're not rogue as well, you will simply not do any damage to them. The way to go rogue now is that a player now has to press and hold a button. On the controller it will be the up button, and on the PC it is going to be Shift R by default. And when you hold that button, when you hold that key combination, then the player will go rogue on command with a 20-second timer. So you don't actually have to shoot another player to go rogue. After that, when you have that 20-second timer, then you can start shooting at other players. And then you can start doing all the stuff that rogue people do, like cutting ropes, for example, as you see in the footage over here. The manhunt system itself has also received a major rework. As soon as you reach manhunt, your timer will be gone, and players will be able to increase their manhunt status from a level 1 manhunt to a level 5 manhunt, depending on how many players you've killed on a manhunt. Because there is no timer anymore, there's no way to run it off anymore, there's no way to keep running and then eventually get rid of your manhunt status. The way to clear the manhunt now is to get to a predetermined location on the map, for example, in the Caucasi Sports Store right here, where you will have to channel one of these terminals to get rid of it. If you successfully channel the terminal, the manhunt will instantly be removed, and the players will receive rewards based on what level of manhunt they wear. So manhunt level 5 will give you the most loot, as you can see on the screen right here. He gets 6 caches. So yeah, the way to stop a manhunt now and to simply beat a manhunt is to defend these type of locations. If the manhunt players cannot get access to these terminals, they will never be able to get rid of their manhunt. On the other hand though, this also means that if the manhunt players are able to kill everybody in their proximity, they can instantly get rid of their timer, and they're gonna get rewards for doing so. So it really is a two-way street. It's gonna come down to whoever is the better player. If you're the better player, then you can infinitely deny the rogue players from channeling that terminal. But if the rogue players are the better players, then they're just gonna kill you and instantly get their rewards. One thing that also came up is of course the body blocking, but that's also already being taken care of. If one player of the squad, for example, wants to go rogue, then everybody has to go rogue as well. They have to either choose to leave the group, or they'll automatically get flagged as well, no matter where they are. And if, for example, one rogue dies, and then respawns at a checkpoint, and then runs back out in the DZ, he will also instantly be flagged as a rogue again if he's close to the other group. So this way, a group is either rogue or not rogue, and blocking bullets to try and get people to flag accidental rogue, it's simply not going to be a thing anymore. Personally, I like this new system. It gives the non-rogues the ability to work together to take down a manhunt without having to worry about being flagged rogue themselves. And I myself, I of course really like trying to take down an entire server with my team, and this will definitely make it more possible for other people to work together. The one concern that I still have is about the grenade spamming on the non-rogue side of things, because friendly fire is disabled of course. So if, let's say, 7 or 8 or 9 players are fighting a 4-man manhunt group, they can just spam grenades. And the rogue players, they're just gonna die to it, because even if you got 2 or 3 final measure guys in your team, you will not be able to defuse that much grenades. And the buffs that you get from it, they may be nice, but it's not enough to compensate for the insane amount of damage, and especially the stagger. The stagger is probably the worst. You just get chain staggered over and over and over again, and you just die. I myself, I'd like to see an increased cooldown on the grenades so people cannot spam them as much, or maybe lower the restock amount to only 2 grenades so that players that restock in the dark zone can't instantly get all 4 frag grenades back. Sure, if they fast travel to other safe houses, they can still get them, but that takes a lot of time, and by that time the manhunt may have already gone away and finished their manhunt. I also said that the vision tech is getting a new role. I have no footage of this because the developers have shown no footage of this yet. But the developers have said that there will be an optimization station right next to the recalibration station, and what this does is that it allows players to improve the stats on their gear with the vision tech. So you will not be able to reroll anything here, like on the recalibration station, but if you have a gear piece with low armor, if you have a gear piece with a low health roll, or if you have a weapon with low base damage, then you will be able to tune these things up with the vision tech. So all you gotta have now is an item that has the right stats, that has the stats that you want, and then you can eventually tune everything up to be fully min-maxed and to be a god roll with this optimization station. To go along with that, we also have a change to the gear score system itself, with the biggest one being that it's going to scale dynamically now. Gear score 256 will be the baseline for level 34 items, and I believe it can go all the way up to 286 depending on how good your rolls are. So to be clear, we're not getting a gear score increase this patch. You will not have to refarm for all your gear. It's just that gear score right now is going to be a visual thing, a visual marker to identify how min-maxed your items are or how min-maxed your build is. And with the optimization station, everybody should eventually be able to get fully min-maxed to 286. But it's of course a lot cheaper if you had some good gear to start off with. Now patch 1.8 is also coming with a lot of balance changes. One example that was shown is that hipfire has been changed. If you look here, you can see that, for instance, the reticle from hipfire has been removed. And they're also saying that the movement speed and the turn speed is going to be even slower. For PC, I don't think the reticle or the turn speed are going to be an issue, because of course you can use a mouse and keyboard so you can move around as fast as you want. And if you have a monitor like for example I have, then you can use one of those red dots in the middle of the screen if you really want to use that. But again, I guess I'll wait and try this out myself before I judge this. Toughness is also going back to 30 health per stamina point, and weapon damage will be changing to a percentage based damage amount to kind of put the low RPM weapons on par with the high RPM weapons. I think that both of these changes are very good. It's going to give us a whole lot more build diversity. However, I still think that we can push balance a bit further. But if you've watched the video with my balance suggestions for patch 1.8, then of course you already know that. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about that today. The PTS for patch 1.8 starts September 26th. It will be available on both the PC and on consoles. However, if you're on console, you will need to have an invite in order to play it. Players that already had access to the PTS for patch 1.7 will have guaranteed access though. So if that was you, then you're lucky. For the rest, you just need to wait it out. They're still figuring out the invite algorithm that they want to use to send out those invites. So if you don't have anything yet, don't worry. We'll have more information on that on next week's State of the Game. But yeah, that is pretty much everything coming to patch 1.8. I gotta say, it's a lot more than I expected. It seems that the developers are bringing a lot of stuff to the table that we've been asking for a pretty long time now. And with patch 1.7.1 also coming out very soon, and if we have to believe them, it is going to fix the lag issues, I am pretty optimistic. And of course, not to forget that we will keep getting new global events every single month, as well as new classified gear to come with that. So yeah, if all goes well, I can really see some new life being brought back into this game. That is going to wrap up this video though. I hope this was helpful to any of you in any way. And if it was, then I guess I will see you guys in the next video. Bye everybody.